Okay, week 1 of 2026 is done, and man, there's some stuff going on.
Week 1?
Week 1.
Week 1.
Check.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
Check.
it's a little over a week
7
or
days,
two.
but we're actually in week 2 now.
Yeah,
so.
we're into week 2.
Okay, so let's get this ball rolling. So, Tom, what you got this week for stories to share?
Well, I'll start, actually.
Do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So with news in the United States, one of the things that's been dominating things of late is Minnesota, one of the states in the U.S. There's been a shooting between an ICE officer and a lady that was in a protest. And that's kind of been dominating the news of late.
Boy, has it.
Yeah, it's been all over the place. And, there's a whole taking sides thing of who's right and who's wrong and the whole thing going on. So that's kind of the first thing I'd like to kind of open up with. And it's an interesting story. And they still have things coming out. But any insights or thoughts that you all have so far?
Well, it's interesting because when this came up, I had a situation this week where I recognized how a lot of people, when they hear something that's happened, they just jump on that and they don't think about what's the truth behind it. And so that's where I really want to go with this, because I had, actually my mom was talking about a place down in Springfield, Missouri, which is, it's called Springfield Underground. And she kept telling me there's a city underground and people go under there, they never come out and they live there forever. And then I ironically enough, this week saw a YouTube about Springfield, Underground Springfield, and that's not exactly what it is. It's actually just a storage unit. It's humongous, and yes, it's underneath the ground, but it's not a city. People aren't living there, and just really something about that. I went, oh my! So many people just don't get any facts; they just jump right on what happened or a situation, and without getting any facts.
Yeah, I think that what differentiates this podcast from other commentators and news reporters and news analysts is that we're going to share about the story from a spiritual perspective and discerning the news.
Yeah.
So that I noticed that, we're not going to sort of rehash the facts of the incident, but more share about the energy behind it and insights that we have for ourselves personally of how similar things can happen.
Like my truth thing, right?
It's almost like it's good examples of what goes on for people, spiritually. So rather than get into the moral issues of the rights and wrongs or the system or that kind of thing, or debate the facts, our primary purpose is to help the evolution of the soul and have maybe feel more secure as I move through the environment that we're in, day to day.
So that said, the ticky-tacky of this is that part of there's a protest thing going on. There's a lady who got shot and killed in a car, and she was at the front of the protest with the car and attempting to
impede
the
officers.
ICE officers.
Yeah.
And then when the ICE officers basically said, okay, that's enough of that, and started to move in to arrest her, she started moving out with the car. And then now the allegations is she almost tried to run over one of the cops, and then the cop shot the lady. So that's the basics of, if you haven't heard about the story. So one of the things that's really stood out to me was, number one, this officer who shot the lady had been drugged by another person in a car before.
Right.
Just before, not too long ago, and had been hospitalized and all this kind of thing. Meaning
30 stitches.
He was like almost got killed. That's one thing that's really interesting about this. Same guy.
Yeah.
In front of a car, finds himself in front of a car again.
So it's like spirit going, hey, what you gonna do this time?
This is very interesting. Yes, very interesting there. And then the other part of it was with the lady that stood out to me was she had this kind of whole new life, so to speak, where she got married to this other lady, and she had kids, but she was in this protest, right?
Right.
And so she was doing what she felt was right, obviously. But it was, to me, both of them, this common denominator, it's like getting caught in the moment rather than being a part of the bigger picture of where their energy is moving toward. What is the things that I need to move toward? And so I'm going to pause there and see what you all get inspired about. But it just, to me, it's just very interesting, without getting involved in moral issues, of how here this officer or agent had this happen to him before, so to speak.
Right. In a
And then he
similar
finds himself
situation.
back in the similar situation.
Yeah.
And number two, that here's this person, a lady, who obviously is passionate about what she believes in, but yet puts herself in harm's way when she has all these people in her life.
Other
And then
opportunity.
she has other opportunity and that she's a part of, right? So I just find those two things fascinating first.
Yeah, for myself, I think it's interesting because that's one of those things like how, if you haven't learned a lesson,
Yeah.
like it will come back around. And it may look the same like the guy being drugged with previously and then back in front of another car.
Exactly.
So now how do you work with that? So I found for myself that has been a true thing. Like they'll come back around. I guess if we look at history too, that's happened over and over, right? Like, are we going to learn this time? Are we going to learn next time? Are we going So, but being so bold and putting themselves in situations that, because like this week I was talking to someone about this and I said, for myself, I have beliefs and I have, think my preferences, but I am not personally inspired to go and be involved in a protest this lifetime. It's just not my thing. For some reason, I'm just not, it's not my thing. So I will not put myself in that kind of harm's way. Right. But who knows what other way I might have a lesson to learn that might be something I've already previously encountered. So that's very interesting. You brought that perspective up.
Well, from the bigger picture perspective, the patterns that I keep reliving,
Right.
and I'm going to keep experiencing find myself in certain situations until I began to take a look at myself and what is my true heart's desire. Where do I really find that happiness and freedom? Or where am I really rallying the forces, within me to accomplish what I came to do? And so it's a lesson, because here's, in the bigger picture, no one died. There's a soul that was left their physical body, and they're going to go back out home into the universe eventually, unless they're all thinking about that situation they're in. And then
Right.
The other fellow, the officer, I mean, we understand the psychology behind it, or there's, a mindset there, and then he's got a job to do. So, it's not some of the commentators have said, it's a sad situation for everyone involved. It's that officer is going to have to live with this. There's no glory in shooting a 37-year-old woman.
Yep.
It's not like a super bad guy that, the villain in the super movie that you just took out and saved the planet. I mean, it's one of those messy situations
all the way around,
that just got escalated. And, I think it's great to communicate what's on my mind, but I have to wonder, am I being used by energy so that I find myself in a situation that doesn't really accomplish my personal mission?
And that's kind of where, with both of what you said about the lesson and that pattern, right? Of how quickly, if I don't learn that lesson early, and then I start doing it again, and the same lesson, but in a different way, right? And here it comes again. Pretty soon I start creating that groove where I become comfortable in what is meant to be uncomfortable. And I become uncomfortable in what is meant to be comfortable, meaning that learning, growing, and adapting and moving beyond, that's comfortable. That's actually the soul moving forward, right? So hitting those bad spots where I don't move forward, where I don't evolve and have fun and happy and all that good stuff, that's uncomfortable. But yet I can get used to, well, this is my lot and I've got to pull through and I got to push and all this kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's times I got to follow through and it's, tough. But the idea of me getting caught in the same thing and not learning the lesson, there's something off about that. And I've lost sight of the big picture. And to me, that's, for me, what I'm getting out of that story is, am I letting my immediate situation take me off of what my bigger picture is? So can I bring my bigger picture into that situation? Can I be a healing force? Do I need to be there? Right? I mean, do I need to be there? Bottom line is, maybe this was their time and all that good stuff. But for me, it's like, am I paying attention to where I need to be? Because if I'm paying attention to where I need to be, then no matter what other people think, it's perfect for me.
We exist in a highly intellectual world, and often the feeling part where your inner wisdom lies gets left out. There's a way to feel more in balance with all parts of yourself. This way is by accessing a spiritual bigger picture of who you are as a soul. Check out the link in the show notes to access a free video series created by the Wayshowers College to support your journey and moving through this game of life. Your intellect and feeling parts will love it.
Okay, so here's another place that I went when I was exploring this and heard about this event that happened. Is I was like, I'm all about freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm all about, allowing people to, hey, they want to experience that, then more power to them. I said to Thomas, did you know what? Minnesota at the moment, they want all the ice people out. They want all the ice agents out. They're okay with the way it is. So I say, leave. And honestly, I say, and don't let them have the experience they're going to have in a city that's already, like many other cities around the country right now, kind of in chaos and kind of in, disarray because of the situations that are going on. Then just move out and let them have it. And that actually feels a little harsh as I say it, but yet that's kind of like, sometimes it's like that. Like, well, you know what? We're not helping this situation here, so let them see how it works.
Or let's make something else a priority or something. Dicey. That's the key word that I wanted to share. And that, how often have I put myself into a dicey situation where the energy could go one way or the other? Because you might say that that officer at the moment, in my opinion, could have just been, he's scared, he's possessed in a second, he's reacting, and
flashback PTSD,
whatever, and I feel like I've got experience as a soul with this in other lifetimes, finding ways to check out early or do the valiant thing and then get shot, by an Indian, or caught in a scenario where I'm trying to save something, So I guess I recognize a pattern of energy, and I've recognized at times when I've gotten to hero mode, you might say, and put myself in situations I didn't need to be in.
Exactly.
That wasn't going to accomplish what I'm here to do this lifetime. And, there's times when I have to stand for my boundaries and stand for my rights and enforce my personal boundaries and work with the system's boundaries and so forth. But is it, what, like you're saying about her family and her situation, whether you agree with, two women getting married or not, this isn't the point. The point is this woman had a life with other people involved.
That's right.
We probably had some other learning and growing experiences involved with that, and now finds himself, I got to start this over again.
Yep.
So it always reminds me of that Reset movie with Tom Cruise, and where he keeps fighting these battles and waking up and coming back, and kind of a thing.
Almost like a Groundhog Day.
I was going to
thing.
say groundhog, yeah.
So and to carry on what you're saying, and at least to kind of tidy this up for me, that energy of live and let live is so important. If you're tuned into listening to this, and at least I'd say for ourselves, live and let live is one of those universal laws. And the more someone dives into their personal growth and their self-identity, live and let live starts becoming top of the list.
Yeah.
Because I start realizing I can't judge people because I'm just putting that energy out. I'm creating a situation where I judge myself, and I need to let people have their opportunity. Because how would I feel if someone kept intervening in my opportunity? Even if it was so quote unquote bad, right? It's my opportunity. So that live and let live covers so much ground. And I've kind of said this, we've been on doing this podcast now for that year. And I remember saying several times that if certain groups want to do certain things, that's fine, right? So long as the whole old adage, as long as your interests don't conflict with my interests, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's when I start being mama and papa to that situation.
Wow.
So if I'm bailing people out, if I'm paying for the situation and they keep going down this negative hole or what I think may be negative, then great. I need to pull my energy out, which is kind of where you're going. Okay, we'll let you have your experience. But that means mama and papa is not going to be involved. There's no big, in this case, the federal government would need to say, look, if you're going to do that, then as long as you're not breaking the overall Constitution law, then go do your thing. But there's no payment.
Don't call us until
right.
Yeah.
Now that's not going to happen.
No.
Right. That's just never going to happen. But ultimately, that live and let live, letting people have their experience so they can grow. That's the thing that really stands out to me. And then the final piece of getting down to the nitty gritty. And to me, this is like, how do I do this for myself? When I get so caught up in that situation, you brought that hero thing, or, I'm going to do this for the cause, and what happens is
being loyal to a cause outside of myself.
Right.
Out of balance loyalty. You might say.
I get so emotional about it. I get this high from it. And as we know, the emotions are all connected to the intellect. It's not a feeling thing. It's an intellect thing.
Right.
Your emotions are up there.
Yeah.
Your true feelings are in the heart. Emotions are actually born from the head. So I get in my emotions about it, which is like a roller coaster. And then I'm blind. I get into these, in this case, the pressure situation, and I make poor decisions because all of my world has now gotten trapped down into this little thing of emotions. So I don't stop the car and get out. I try to run away, or I stand in front of a car instead of stepping aside. It's like I get so caught up in that situation, whatever it is. And so let's say I'm talking to, an acquaintance or something, and we start having an argument. If I'm caught in my emotions, if I'm caught in some ideology, you did me wrong, or I'm going to save this situation, it's not what I do, it's how I do it.
Yeah, my wrap up on this is it's a good example for myself to recognize when a situation comes up like this, where am I at energetically and discerning how am I feeling about what's going on? So at my work, there were quite a few people talking about it, right? And some people were heated up and had their, their perspective and their, beliefs on it. And I just listened. I didn't get involved in other people's, scenarios, and also their, like you're saying, their emotions and their, that angst of what's happened and how can this happen and that happen. And I just stay relaxed. So it's really a good opportunity to recognize when these things come up around us and around the world and not too far from us, because we're in Iowa, it's not too far to Minnesota, is where's my energy and how relaxed am I staying as I'm, hearing and experiencing what's going on? Because of course we can feel so much.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, and that's another part of this too for myself, is when these things happen, if I go too deep into situations and what's happening, I start feeling it.
Yeah.
And I don't need to do that, because that's not part of what I'm here to work with at this moment. So that's the wrap up for myself, is just being able to discern at a moment the events that happen and how am I influenced or affected by them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's a balance between a soul's learning and blowing their timing, or a soul's learning and, oh my God, now I got to live with this, a soul's learning, and then the balance between, the boundaries we have established in society and the system that we have to hopefully maintain fairness. And, but if I'm finding myself at the wrong place at the wrong time and not, I have to be tuned into what is my mission spiritually to know where I can move in and move out to be of service. Because, Tiger was in the Navy, I was in the FBI,
Air Force.
have a
Teresa was in the Air Force.
Teresa was in the Air Force.
Oh,
we're
I forget.
we're we believed in the patriarch in the goodness of the system that has been established. We've also experienced when things can get out of balance, and so we know
right.
it's not perfect, and people are going to learn and grow through the whole framework that we've got. And so as a soul, as an individual, I just need to keep that in perspective. Yeah. If something's starting to heat me up emotionally, I know I'm losing sight of my big picture and what I need to be concerned with, and over concerned about an injustice. Always remember that, there's, for me, reminding myself that in some ways, if I find myself in those situations where it got dicey, I've attracted that. I've put myself there. I stopped listening to my sensitivity or my feelings, and to maintain that. Having said that, if that was your mission, okay, well done. I'm not going to I'm not going to judge. It's not my job to evaluate that. I just can evaluate where I need to be in the right place at the right time, with love and respect for everybody, and live and let live as my guiding principle. I wanted to say that we share about live and let live because it's a solution.
That's right.
Not because it's some grandiose idea of, we'll be holy if we do that.
Yeah.
It's more like that's the solution for me, and that's the solution for my brothers and sisters who are also here as souls experiencing life on planet Earth.
As the Earth's crust shifts and changes, our lives do the same. One way to maneuver through the small and large moments that shake us to the core is by reviving your connection to spirit, gathering ways to cleanse your energy field, embracing spiritual awarenesses to give you a bigger picture, and knowing that you are not alone on your journey can be a great support. The Soulquake Survival Guidebook is a great companion to meet you where you're at and support reviving your connection to spirit in earth-shaking times. Get your copy today through Amazon worldwide in paperback, ebook, or in audio, and begin embracing more clarity, inner peace, and enthusiasm for your life and what you've come to do.
One thing that's popping in my mind as we're talking about this and is speaking in the first person.
Yeah.
This is such a big deal because oftentimes whenever, other people are talking about situations, it's, you and them and they, and it really is important to speak from the first person, to keep it personal and to what my experience is, because I know when I speak to other people, and even going to workshops and events and stuff, and trying to get people to understand the importance of speaking and keeping it to the personal, to the I. Because if you don't, it's outside of you. So I guess, I don't know, just for some reason, whenever you were mentioning and you're talking, it's just so important. And that's one thing I love about working with the Way Shores College. That's one of my big ahas of going away from that. And I mean, there's lots of them, but speaking in the first person and not putting it outside of myself. It's what my experience is. So I just I don't know, that popped in my mind as you were talking, Tom, about, the I and the I. So anything you want to say about that?
And that is where the solutions are. I do not get insights that will change my life if I'm constantly saying we and you. But I do get the insights from my spiritual helpers, from the universe, whatever you want to call that, when I come and start making it personal to me and my life. In other words, when I experience this is what happens for me. That opens a door. It starts giving the opportunity that my guidance say, oh, he's serious. He actually wants change. Instead of saying, which is what your point, Tom, is, oh, they did this to me. And I never take the time to say, well, wait a minute. How did I put myself in that situation? How did I contribute to that argument, to that problem, to that situation? Did I not listen to my sensitivity? Did I knew that I was meant to get out of there, or or oh, I could have just been, like you're saying, I could have just been relaxed in that situation and listen, right? So it's like, what is my part? What is my contribution? Because I need to be doing that.
Well, that's putting it back on me.
And if I'm constantly in the we and the you and they, I'm not doing my part. I'm not saying don't, be selfish and like me, 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 me. I'm just saying that if I'm going to contribute to a situation positively to my community, I need to do it from the I part, not greedy part, but from the, hey, what works for me? And let me share that.
Well, this is really part about stepping more into your spiritual practices, because I know for myself, when I have worked with other leaders that are spiritual leaders, if they don't speak in the first person, I swear I'm like, I know where they're at.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ballgame when you come back to the I and the me. What would you like to say about that, Tom?
So true. I,
a man of little words. So true.
One of the other comments that I wanted to make was that spiritually, I would work with either person. If that person came to me and said, I want to take a look at this because I didn't really want to be in that situation. I didn't really want to follow through that way. That's not, to me, the best solution. I didn't really want to find myself checked out. I would work with either of them and have love and respect for both of them, and then help them work more with their guidance so that they can kind of go through that self-discovery. It reminds me of something my mentor said, was that when we were talking about somebody who's, in fact, a guy that was pretty shady. And I remember him saying, I'll work with anybody spiritually. And, that's my ethos in the whole thing.
So that's your comments on the I.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about that?
Because I have some experience and I can work with guidance and I can help people reawaken for themselves that wisdom within, Well,
yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say too, it's a different level of understanding as a soul, working with from the I.
Yeah.
Well, am I sharing on ideas, or am I sharing from my experiences? That's what it comes down to. Am I moving from my true feelings, or am I moving from something I read or watched on TV? Am I expressing love as I feel it, or am I expressing the idea of love from some fairy tale? That's the difference for me when I'm speaking in the I, or whether I'm just going to keep it always outside of me.
And it's a feeling, because for myself being very sensitive, and I know everybody else on the planet is at different levels of sensitivity, but you can feel that. Like, I can feel it. I can feel if I don't resonate with somebody because they're speaking in a different place and I'm at a different place. So it's just an interesting, so I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, what else we got?
That's a good one.
Hey, got something else, Tom?
Got the,
well, Teresa mentioned to me in the green room that,
the pink purple room.
This Epstein story just keeps hanging on. And what brought it to her attention was there was talk about the Clintons being subpoenaed to, testify before Congress. And as of this broadcast, we don't even know whether they're going to show up or not. And we all have heard about Epstein and his ties to the rich and famous. Mm-hmm. And so we don't want to rehash that story so much. And then the personal practices, you might say, he had in terms of his sexuality. And so we get to this point where I think the question is, why does this keep dragging on? And how can I relate it to my own life?
Well, it's interesting because what just popped into my mind as you're talking about this, and our first story we started with, is it's a part of the lesson. Mm-hmm. It's another part of this is not going away, because this is a big nut to crack, right? This situation, not necessarily with Epstein, because it's happened with other people too. Other people have had situations out there in the world where they've In fact, I was just watching one on 60 Minutes Australia about this French guy who was with the elite modeling industry, and he molested and raped lots of models in the 80s, 90s, and he was pretty horrific. So these lessons keep coming up, and so but when you incorporate high people like the Clintons and other people that, and then, and Trump's been in some pictures, and the prince from England. I mean, there's how many people have been Prince Andrew. How many people have been involved in this situation? But when's the lesson, the true essence of a lesson, is going to come out, and people are going to be like, okay, we've got that. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the bringing the story is the phrase that comes out is beware of what I feed. What do I want to be involved in? And it's very easy to want what other people want. Like, oh, if I have that car, then I'll be successful. When I have this much money in the bank, I'll be, oh, then they'll accept me, or then I'll be really good. Or, when I have this kind of partner or this kind of house, whatever. The point is these external things that I'll feed. And same with ideology, same with these things that happen. Part of the thing that why this keeps going on from my perspective, in this case, the Epstein story and all the negative stuff that happened in behind the scenes there, that it's because both sides, it's turned into big politics, right? Rather than just a black and white legal law situation, right? It's because both sides of the politicians have been feeding this. When one's in power, they feed it this direction, and the other one's in power, they feed it that direction. It's been going on for a long time, right? So now you have the chickens coming home to roost with all this energy that everybody's been feeding, so it's not going to just die off anymore. And so I need to be really alert to what is my needs, what are my energies. Similar to the previous story, where do I find myself? Is this part of what I came to do? Is this helping me move forward with my ethos, with my spiritual values, with my spiritual thrust? If it's not doing that, I need to gently start pointing my nose in a different direction to move out, or sometimes I need to make a, exit stage left, so to speak. But either way, I need to get myself into where I need to be. Otherwise, I'm going to find myself involved with people and things that aren't my business.
Boy, this really resonates with the day-to-day life that we all have, and just seeing, and especially that part of what am I feeding?
Yeah.
Am I feeding? And I recognize, I don't know, something hit me this week too about how important obstacles and challenges are in our lives, because that's truly where, especially at the afterwards, where the gold is, where we really come up and go, oh my God, that gem of that horrific thing I went through, or that challenge or that obstacle there was so much gold there. And so recognizing that, the good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between is part of what we play here while we're on this planet.
Yeah.
But in my evolution as for my soul, what am I feeding, and how is that going to come in the next, piece of the puzzle that opens up, right? Like if I'm feeding negativity, and if I'm in the collective of, I hate these people and I want this to end and la, la, la. I mean, all the, there's so many taglines from all these different things going on in the planet, especially the last few years that, I mean, it's been on here forever, but the last few years, it's just been amplified because of the media and because of all the telephones and stuff that we have, the accessibility of 24/7. But if I'm feeding, what am I feeding today in my world? That, I guess, would be the question in my life for what I want to experience next. And like I said, there are times when it's like, okay, that negativity, I'm working with that because this is what the outcome is.
So who's using this story to keep me? What's the decoy? And that's what I heard Tiger sharing about. Both sides have utilized it. It's salacious. It's and the power and the rich people and all that good stuff. So, am I using it as an escape? Am I using it for entertainment?
Revenge.
That it
Yes.
keeps playing, the soap opera of both stories that we're talking about. We can get caught in the soap opera of it. And why are soap operas popular? Because people get into the life story. A friend of mine was telling me his grandmother used to, yell at the people on, "Don't do that. They'll kill you." And we all probably know somebody like that used to watch those soap operas.
Oh, I watched them for hours.
And they used to give advice to the characters, and it's a play act. It's not real life. So, of course, this is real life, but it's keeping me, what strikes me is it's keeping me from really moving into the power of my soul, because if I'm honest with myself, what I want is to feel secure. I want to enjoy that fulfillment of achieving a goal through my self-awareness, through bettering myself. And, I just pulled up into a new business opportunity that I was successful at winning, you might say, is in the competitive jargon,
Sure.
And honestly, to be truthful about it, I was moving through some things spiritually. I was learning to stay more relaxed. And then I found wow, that makes it easier to do this job and to be of service. Was focusing on the spiritual part that I was, as well as the material goals and metrics that we had to follow. And it's resulted in success. So I go, wow. Now, I've learned something about my own power. And I must admit, it's a little ooh, if I'd only know, that's a little scary to realize I have that ability. So I feel like when things drag on, it's usually a sign to me that someone is using this to keep me, because in my day-to-day life, there's an element of it that's my business. I'm not suggesting that I'm not aware of what's going on with my government or my society or in the bigger picture. But I've still got to come back to what's my purpose. How can I be creative in that and be honest in my everyday life?
Well, I think one thing I wanted to pop on that one is about, feeling that strength we have within us.
Yes.
And there are so many people that are not going there and will probably never go there, maybe this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know quite a few of them. And so it's back to that, kind of like that victim, or that I'm unworthy, I mean, I think that's my big thing is I want to inspire people to feel the enthusiasm of their life, even when all the crap's going on, right? You're a big soul, you've got big power, you can do anything, you put your mind to it, but you have to first believe in who you are.
Right. And I was going to go with that same
That's because we're
feeling.
thinking alike.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So what's my standards going to be, right? If my standards are high for myself, not so high that I beat myself up, to be clear, right? Are my standards worthy? Am I living my standards, right? I have a spiritual thrust. Rallying the forces is my spiritual thrust. My purpose is all about freeing people. So my standards reflect that. And when I'm relaxed, that's natural. But if I get all caught up in the outside and my intellect, I'm going to put stuff in there that doesn't belong, or I'm going to twist and skew these things for myself. And the other thing you're bringing up about it says that quote, I'm a light in the world, right? There is not one person in my experience that isn't have that capacity to be a light in the world. That's been my experience been working with people. And what does that mean? If I'm being my light, if I'm shining and I'm being enthusiastic because I'm moving forward, all these things change the dynamics completely. When bad news hits me, I had a situation here where it's oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to spend more money on my vehicle because it's broken down and all this stuff. But when I'm in my niche, when I'm in my place, it's okay, what do I need to do next? All I got to do is take the next step, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about it. It means that I'm going to just do my part, and I'll let Spirit do their part. And that's the facts. So imagine all these stories we've been talking about with this terrible thing that happened in Minneapolis, and then this, the whole Epstein thing keeps coming back. It's like, okay, am I really being myself? Am I being authentic? Right? Am I really going to just do my part? And that leads me toward what I've come to do. I can't help it. If I just start being myself and being positive and not like toxic positivity, but just like, okay, we're going to do something about that problem. I don't know what it is, but we'll figure it out. Let's keep going and be sincere and serious, but, lighthearted. What's the old saying, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So keep my heart light and keep moving forward. And all of a sudden this river will start taking me in a positive direction. But I'm not going to get that if I keep dimming myself down, if I keep going off of low standards or other people's standards. I get involved in the muck, in the puddle, right? Rather than just being in the river, taking me down the stream like a cork.
Okay, I like that analogy. So, lighten the world. So now let's shift the energy a bit. And let's go back, we'll say 60 years ago.
Whoa. Take
Do
you
remember?
back. 60 years ago.
Get back.
Now.
Get back. Get back to where you once belonged.
Oh no.
All right.
We're gonna go a little further than that.
Now, Tiger, you and I both, we were not around 60 years ago. We were in a different form. We'll put it that way.
Baby.
You were not a baby.
Spiritual growth is not a race. It's a gradual progression. You do not have to spend 24 hours a day working on it in order to feel more inner peace, deeper connection to your soul purpose, and feeling more confident in your daily life. The journey is all about balancing your physical and spiritual worlds. These two worlds are supportive for embracing the foundations of the real you. By just investing minutes a day for your spiritual part as you would invest in your house or other areas of your life. To gather more direction, clarity, and a new layer of inner awareness, check out the ebook set created by the Wayshowers College. Link and discount code in show notes.
We were not around 60 years ago. We were in a different form. We'll put it that way.
Baby.
You were not a baby. You were in a form.
Yeah, you were a form.
No, I'm saying I am just a baby.
Yeah.
Then there's Tom.
Well, I was around.
Man.
Thanks for bringing that up.
And thanks for saying
mentioning
that.
Yeah.
Tom was around. So the good story of this week is a little over 60 years ago, the Beatles reached #1, which is good with your song, with a U.S. album chart with groundbreaking Rubber Soul album was the album. It was their 7th chart topping LP, and it was on the Billboard for 56 weeks.
I mean, these guys, 1964, they're on the Ed Sullivan Show, and had already started being somewhat big in America with their hits. But wow, that just, Beatlemania. You're talking 2 years later, 66, they had their, how many? 7th chart topping
LP 7.
LP, album, not single, album. It was really an amazing time to live through when they were so big and they were so cool and there was nothing like them.
So
but
the
go on
coolest
with
part,
the rest of the story.
Yeah, I'd say the coolest part is that they actually interviewed Elvis Costello for this, and he was actually 11 years old. And he remembered this, and this is what they
He's
quoted
a little
him.
older than me, I'd like to point out.
A couple months.
A few years, more than that.
So what he said in this article was that whenever a lot of people first heard this album, they're like, he said, I don't like it. I think they've lost their minds. It's crazy. But then he also goes to say that 6 weeks later, he couldn't live without it. It was an amazing album. And then the coolest part about this article where it said, like about music and how important music is, that's when you trust the people who make music to take you somewhere you haven't been before. Oh, I love music so much. And that's a big part of it because, artists and the influence they have, and especially the Beatles, my God, they are and still are, right? I mean, they were and still are amazing. But the places I go with music is just, I love it so much.
Well, going back to that thing I was bringing up about the river, there's a hitting the timing just right, and because there were other groups and so forth, but they tapped something and they were in the right timing. So that's that whole energy of doing the right thing at the right time. And the inspiration, besides all the amazing music that they and other people at that time were putting out, is that if I just have the willingness to be of service and do it in a way that's positive for me and positive for people, I have this natural creativity that will start boiling over and bubbling up. And it is, and this is goes. All these things are connected, right? All these stories.
They always are.
I put myself in the right place at the right time because I'm just paying attention. I'm being myself, and all of a sudden I catch that rhythm. I'm in the right timing. I'm picking up those creative insights that are coming in to share with people. In this case, they're songwriters putting those things together in a way that people need to hear it. And it's like, I didn't like it at first, but I just can't live without it now, that being able to say things in song that we can't say in the words, So to me, it's all about that same energy of really being that light, being in my timing. And when I'm off my timing, willing to get back on.
The main area that shows up for me to share about, and it's something that I see in some of my business opportunities, is when things change, a real reluctance, especially as we get a bit older, to want to try the new software or try the new music, or, there's a real comfort in what you're used to. And I do remember that when those albums came out, and their earlier music of the Beatles, with the first couple of albums like Meet the Beatles and Hard Day's Night, there was a certain rock feel to it that you got used to and we all loved, which was new at the time. It was like a different sound. It was, an evolutionary type sound. When Rubber Soul came out, the music shifted again. And I remember thinking that about like some of their singles as they would come out. I would say, oh, that's okay. And then like a day or two later, I was like, wow, that's really good. So as I get used to it, or with software changes on, say, your phone, or some of the software that we use on our computers and so forth. At first, I'm like, why did they change that? And in both Microsoft and both, the Apple type stuff, like, why did they? I liked it fine the way it was. And then usually a little while into it, I go, oh, well, at one point I started to realize, oh, they changed it because now you can do this. And that's actually in the longer, bigger picture, like that's a better way, it's another way. So, but again, that's not to say that every change is done with altruistic, clear motives, you might say. Sometimes people change things because they want us locked into a certain style of business or, a certain business model. So, I'm aware of that, but I'm open to the new shifts. And I agree.
And change is constant.
Yeah.
Okay, wrapping this up.
Well, that's
today.
probably
That's
and just be aware of, like, from a spiritual point of view, when I start to look at new concepts, like some of what we share here may kind of like, what? I'm so used to being involved in moral issues that I don't want to stray from the rights and wrongs. And
I don't think those are listening to our.
Well, no, there may be a little bit, but that's what we're talking about in terms of spiritual growth, is allowing my guidance to give me a little different perspective on it,
right?
So that I can evolve through the situation. Otherwise, we're going to keep repeating. This is really what I wanted to tie into. We're going to keep repeating the same stories. That Epstein story, that ICE story. I'm old enough, since you mentioned it,
Your birthday's coming soon too.
that there's nothing new about these stories.
Yes.
Sure, the names change and some of the details change, but boy, it's the same stuff that people seem to keep evolving through. And in fact, that the woman that got checked out, I mean, she could have been my daughter. I would have been a very mature
Oh, Tom,
adult.
you're not that old.
I'm that old. And But what my point is like, boy, there's always a new crop. There's always a new group of souls coming in for their learning experiences.
Final words, Tiger.
My final words have to do with the keyword pioneer. That's kind of the theme that stands out to me, not only for this podcast, but for the whole year. I mean, think about, I think to myself, I get to practice. And my guidance and the bigger spirit or the bigger energy or whatever you want to call that is backing me, supporting me to practice my pioneering energy this entire year. It's that kind of that spear of inspiration, so to speak, right? I'm been given extra support to be a pioneer for myself, not for anybody else. If other people will benefit, but for me to pioneer past my old ideas, to pioneer past my old patterns and habits that can hold me back.
And reactions,
right? To pioneer new abundance, to pioneer new parts of my relationships. I'm being offered that all year, but especially now, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm bringing that up as my wrap up because I think about all these stories and other stories that we could have brought up that are related. If I'm pioneering my energy, I will find myself at the right place at the right time. I will be that light in the world. I'll know when to olay and get the hell out of the way of a car that's coming at me. I'll know when to get involved and to set my boundaries. I know when to say, I'm going to let someone else take care of that today.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. Because I'm in the energy of what it is to be a pioneer. I don't have to go waving some flag per se. Am I pioneering what I've come to do? And that has to be first and foremost for me. And it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy some of my kids have got into this little RC cars, these remote control cars of late. And I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever, Mm-hmm. But when I get into it, I'm like, man, it's kind of cool, But I also know that, okay, whilst that's cool and I enjoy it and I get there's some fulfillment there, I also know that I have a bigger picture. And I can't let myself get consumed by one thing. That's not what I've come to do. So that energy of pioneering there's so much protection in that. It's like a direction. It's so much protection in that direction that it lets me be at the right place at the right time. It lets me be a healing force when I need to be. And it lets me bow out gracefully and respectfully when I don't need to be there.
Final words. Are you good to go, Tom?
Yeah, I'm pretty good to go. I mean, I think for me personally, it's, when do I get subtly caught up in a glory trip versus what I really need to be doing? And my goal is to be the Beatles of my own life and at least balance that with what's going on around me.
So I guess some of the thoughts is how to find abundance in our life.
Yeah.
Whenever there's things out there in the world that want me to feed into them, and keeping things very easy, like listening to guidance and getting those backings, and then also to simplify what I'm doing and what I'm involved in. So we hope this episode today, everyone out there that's listening, inspires you to also work with the power of your soul, work with how are you a light in the world for others, to a beacon for others to also have hope about what's occurring now and what's coming and the future ahead. So we hope you got a lot out of this episode. We thank you so much for listening in. Please don't forget to share and comment down below. We'd love to hear your comments, and we'll be back again soon.
Hasta la vista,
baby.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.